So last I knew about CLG was when I talked to Greg Kim, who is basically the head of CLG. Uh, CLG obviously owned by Madison Square Garden Company. I've read their 10Ks for a while now, and I know there was rumors, or not rumors, but Madison Square Garden was looking to possibly relocate their esports operations out to Vegas. I can't even remember. I think that was as of like 2 years ago they started. Talk about. Is my nose bleeding? My nose is bleeding. What the? Okay, well, this is gonna take a pause. Hold up. I know they were possibly looking at moving them out to Vegas. I've heard nothing about CLG's sale. The only other thing is that I know CLG is the only brand in New York now, with NYXL not being uh, in Valorant. There's no New York City org now that's representing League of Legends at all, with apparently CLG out. But I don't know what this means. Like, I don't know what any of this freaking means. But
Hello, everyone. We're just gonna get straight.
let me know if the
into it.
volume's
I
good.
haven't
I'll
really
read the
set up
chat for
because this
these
is
2 seconds.
all basically been stuff that I've learned in a very short period of time. Shout out to Alienware for sponsoring this video. Okay, so I've spoken to several different people over the past couple of hours, and what has materialized is the information that CLG employees were informed earlier today that
Today,
starting
Jesus
on
Christ, this is
this Thursday, seemingly all staff
Coco, please, not right now.
members, including even Greg Kim, who was running the organization, will be let go from the organization
What?
and the company, other than the League of Legends vertical. The League of Legends vertical seemingly is headed towards NRG. It's unclear to me the exact
I fucking called it. I told people NRG wanted to be back in the league. And people did not believe me. They said, oh, fucking Vietnam's the better. No, the goal was always LCS. I called this shit.
details, but I've just been told that NRG will have some sort of
I
involvement with the
Knew
League
it.
of Legends team, maybe an acquisition, and then once they can change the name over to NRG, that's what it'll be. But it appears
Andy
as though
Miller back in the LCS.
CLG will likely not continue to exist as a brand or an org because MSG, Madison Square Garden, who owns CLG, will or has seemingly sold off the League of Legends vertical or perhaps the organization. Again, the exact details of the business situation are not completely clear to the staff members who were informed of this.
So CLG's just gone. Entirely gone. NRG's going to take all of their assets and their infrastructure, just put it in theirs, because NRG is quite frankly a more thriving organization. But like, wow. I mean, let's be honest. CLG carries brand name for fans in League of Legends, but that's kind of it. Like, beyond that, it doesn't really hold much weight elsewhere to a certain extent. And Melee, yes, and Melee, but like not enough to the point where they're going to be sustainable to Madison Square Garden standards. MSG was going to want to sell them off the second things started going south. That means Danielle's probably done, or she probably doesn't have a job right now. Oh my god. Yes.
They lost it on very short notice.
Yes.
And that those people now,
Oh my
what is
God.
perhaps interesting for us to talk about or interesting for us to be sad about as fans, the thing that is most relevant is just the amount of people that are out of work now. And so really
Okay. This is where this is going to get really difficult, because I'm close with Greg, close with Danielle, and a bunch of the staff at CLG. I get along with them very, very well, and they are blindsided by this. So I want to make sure I'm approaching this with delicacy. My heart goes out to them. My heart goes out to anybody in esports that is going to be affected by this. But this is also not going to be the last time that this happens. Layoffs, mergers, the mass rapid consolidation of the esports industry is happening before our eyes, and we are right in the middle of it. And you have to stop and take a moment to send your messages out to them, but you also cannot stop talking or dealing with the changes to the esports industry, because if you take even a day at this point to sit back, relax, and not do and just ignore it, then you're already behind the ball. So with love and respect to everybody at CLG, and I love all of them. I hope every single one of them lands on their feet. And quite frankly, I think NRG would be smart to bring some of them on board, if at all possible. Obviously, they're not going to bring on the marketing team because NRG has their own marketing team. But I don't know. Now that CLG is being sold, I think I can just say this. Danielle messaged me 5-6 days ago about CLG merch for one of our watch parties in New York City. So like this is a complete blindside to them. And it didn't.
Obviously, things did not pan out the way that it did.
No.
Or that a lot of people expected it to.
Madison Square Garden burned that bridge so bad.
Where the future of the
all
brand
credit to
org
Greg
is
and them
uncertain.
Afterwards,
I think
trying to resurrect it, but
there
they were
might
fighting
be
an uphill
some
battle.
attempts to recover the brand. I don't know, and it's unclear again at this time if MSG still owns the IP of CLG or if NRG seemingly will with whatever is going on with them now. Or sorry, from CLG to NRG.
They're going to go to NRG.
And
There's no
then
reason
again,
to keep
what
CLG.
happens to
NRG is a
everything else?
rapidly growing
So those
brand.
details are still developing. I'm sorry that I don't.
All the OG orgs are gay. But see, here's the thing with this, and I'm not surprised. Nobody should be surprised. All the OG orgs going under should not be a surprise to anybody because none of them are profitable. They all took on a massive, massive ton of investor money, and we're just simply not paying it out. And at some point, those brands are either going to go under from the cost or sell off. That's your only two options here because at some point, your cash flow runs out. And when VC money is no longer there, like it's not, then this is the only other thing that happens. We are slowly working our way towards getting back to our roots, which, despite all the layoffs and all the problems, I do think is a good thing. Getting back to our roots of not doing something unless you have the money to do it is going to be a really important concept. And not just having like, oh, I have the money to do it because I went out and asked people for $4 million that I'll eventually have to repay back. No, like I have, $1 million in revenue and the LCS gives me $1 million on top of that. Okay, that's my entire budget for the year. I have $2 million to work with to sign players for marketing and for everything else. Like you have to get back to that point. That's the only way that this shit becomes sustainable. We don't have turnover year after year because otherwise, even the orgs like NRG, if they are having financial problems in any capacity, they'll be gone in 2 years. So like, it's just this rotating door of companies that keep folding and folding and folding, and you'll have one or two that survive. And it's like, I don't know. I legitimately don't know what you do at this point. If it was Valorant, it's different because there's no like entry fee. Teams can spend whatever they want so long as like they're contributing. Like this whole situation is kind of tough. To respond to Zeus, TLDR about Madison Square Garden. So CLG, right before franchising began, took on investment from Madison Square Garden. They got a significant chunk of money to be able to help pay for the entry fee for the LCS, which at the time was $10 million. They took on that money. Madison Square Garden took over, and people, quite frankly, were not happy with how CLG was ran. I mean, pretty much from 2016 on, the brand slowly started being run into the ground to the point where in 2020, myself and many others were like, what the fuck are you even doing in the league? Like, what good are you doing anybody here? The answer was pretty much nothing until Greg Kim came in, Danielle on the marketing side. Like, there were a bunch of good people in CLG that came in, unfortunately, by the time it was too late, they'd already bled through too much money. The brand's reputation had more or less been tarnished. The popularity of League of Legends declined. CLG's League of Legends team was on, barring a few fans, was not anywhere near what it was before. And it's not like NRG is gonna be all that much. I mean, NRG has a better understanding of current social media climate, especially with Full Squad Gaming, who are a part of NRG. I don't think a lot of people know that for some reason, but yeah, Full Squad on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter, they're all part of NRG. So they have their own content network of Zoomers to fully capitalize on. Do you guys have any other questions that I can answer that you want to talk through before I end stream? I just got back from the gym. I'm a fucking sweaty and now partially bloody mess because of a bloody nose. So I really need to go get a shower. Is there anything you should know about NRG? No, nothing, because you followed the. Okay, so the history of NRG. Obviously, they were in esports for a pretty long time. Andy Miller is the founding CEO. He was one of the guys. If you ever called into American Idol using a cell phone or like text message very early on, he was the guy that helped create that system. He's a wickedly intelligent guy. Shaq is on the board of investors for them, and I think A-Rod and like a few other big names. Yes, so they used to be in the LCS before franchising. Now, 2019, when Optic sold their LCS spot, Optic was then pretty much non-existent. Andy Miller, co-CEO or CEO of NRG, brought in Hex from Optic to found the Chicago Huntsmen and basically continued the Optic name there, because Immortals technically owned the Optic name for like this year-long stretch. So for a while, a lot of NRG fans were also Optic fans, and there was kind of like this hybrid merger between the two. Later in 2020, Hex then buys back out the his portion of Optic from Immortals, leaves NRG, so NRG goes back to being its own independent thing. At the same time, Full Squad Gaming and a bunch of other TikTok creators start blowing up alongside like NRG. NRG notably was big in the Fortnite scene. I forget who all they had in terms of content creators there. They obviously got into Valorant. They got a bunch of like NRG started blowing up, but to my knowledge, they weren't overpaying all that much. Like Andy Miller's, from what I understand and from what people that I've talked to, he is one of the smarter owners in all of esports. So if there's somebody that you want in, even though he's no Rick Fox, Andy Miller is legitimately one of those guys that you want with the LCS. He's a brilliant mind that will help the scene whether they keep the NRG name or CLG name, doesn't matter. Having Andy Miller with the LCS is big and really, really good. It's an owner, a name, a face to the brand beyond just like these corporate entities. Andy Miller is somebody that you can relate to. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't got anything else to say. I'll catch you all